Hey folks, bringing you another benchmark video. This is with the RTX 3080 Zotac Trinity and a Ryzen 9 5950X. Everything's running at stock. I'm using 3600 CL16 memory, and the footage you're seeing is everything currently on the lowest settings you can see, the lowest settings you can get in game, dynamic culling, all of that stuff, as low as you can go in 1440p. And I'm running a semi-juiced up map, kind of what you would experience when you're regular mapping, you know, not crazy stuff, and it seems to be pretty much hovering above the 144 limit. So if you're buying this card and you're going to be doing some generic mapping and you're playing in 1440p, or if you're playing in lower resolutions, you're definitely going to be able to experience some high refresh rates. Now, we know Path of Exile is kind of, I mean, you could say it's unoptimized, or however you want to word it. It's not, you don't quite get the performance you think you should because there's just that many things on screen. There are issues like items that drop that you can't see, kind of impact your performance. Your storage device that it's stored on is obviously massively impactful, so I've got a fast NVMe drive. If you're on a hard drive, good luck playing this game. But basically the performance is absolutely wonderful playing through this on 1440p, because you probably would play this game on low anyway. That's the kind of game it is. It still looks sharp. You would have a very, very good time. Now, if you crank everything up possible, you turn off, you know, resolution scaling, you turn off dynamic culling, you're gonna basically go from about 144 frames to about 100. Now, if you look at that as sort of a percentage increase slash decrease, you're looking at probably you're losing 30-40% by cranking up the settings from max to, you know, low, the difference. So there's a pretty big, I guess, chunk of performance disappearing from cranking everything up. But when you've got this much stuff on screen, no loot filter, all the filtering options as well, yeah, the game can be pretty tough to run. I don't think anybody would reasonably play at this setting whilst absolutely speed mapping, but you can still do it. You can crank everything up and have a wonderful time above 100 FPS. Certainly it's not feeling unsmooth. Previously, when you played Path of Exile on an older card like my 970, it just jerked about everywhere. It was just stuttery mess. This felt very, very smooth. The frame rates might not be 165, but it actually felt really, really smooth. And again, I intentionally don't have a loot filter on. I have everything cranked up, but yeah, performance was very pleasant. We're gonna then get on to the absolute insanity that is, I went into Standard League and I paid a guy to fracture a map. He juiced it up to high heaven. I played on 1440p with everything maxed out again on one of these Delerium maps, and bear in mind, right, the character I'm playing on is just a random Magic Find character in Standard. He doesn't even really have a passive tree. I haven't played the game in a year, so it's not very strong, so I wasn't killing all the enemies as quick as other videos that I've seen. Going into this Delerium map, I'm also playing with somebody who also has a headhunter and is killing mobs and doing effects. So in this test, this is like the most intensive experience you could probably produce realistically for Path of Exile. Yes, unless you put a 6-man group in there, but you and your friend going in the most juiced up map humanly possible on 1440p with every single thing maxed out. And no, I'm not playing on the Vulkan client. The Vulkan client does actually increase your FPS by a tremendous amount, but I wanted this to be, I guess, worst case scenario to give you an idea of what to expect. Now, I would say when playing this, it actually, in comparison to what I used to play on, felt ridiculously smooth. I'm sure if you put it on Vulkan or you put on dynamic culling, so some of the effects disappear. What that basically means is instead of playing the same effects 300 times a second, it might do it 3 times, you know. So I'm still holding, like, you might see there it went down to 24 FPS, but you've got, like, for those that don't play Path of Exile, you've got to understand this is ludicrous stuff. Like, you're just not going to be, the regular person will never ever do this stuff. This is a double character map, fractured, triple beyond, juiced up, a billion sextants, everything humanly possible, I believe he put on, right? So it was a very, very intensive thing to run, and again, knowing that knowing that on low settings it's going to give you 30-40% extra performance, and then you can put on dynamic culling, you can put on the Vulkan renderer as well. I think you could comfortably play this above 60 FPS, which for the amount of stuff that is happening on screen, for the amount of calculations that is happening on screen, is ridiculous, really. So you might look at this and go, wow, you've got a monster PC and you're dipping into the 20s, but you have 2 headhunters running, you have the most crazy map possible, basically, you know, for your average player's never really going to play content like this, you know. So absolute worst case scenario, if you play 1440p, everything maxed out on an absolutely idiotic map, you're still going to get 30 frames. If you drop your settings down, even to maybe instead of having 16 times filtering, you've got 4 times, and maybe you knock off a couple settings that you really don't need in a game like this. You're not playing this game for visual quality. You'll happily get above 60 FPS. You can even see in this zone, like now, I'm playing at 45 FPS. It's fine to play, and it's actually very good. In fact, I know people will probably look at that figure and go, wow, awful, but the game is way different to, say, playing a, you know, an FPS game. Playing this with, you know, as you can see, 50 FPS, 60 FPS is really good, and I think it's a testament to how strong the damn CPU is and the graphics card. Again, yeah, that's all I've really got to say, is I think if you lowered your settings down and you weren't in a 2-man as well, don't forget, this is not just a single player person, this is actually a 2-man, and I have no damage, so things really aren't dying. I'm just adding into the particle effects, and I've got all kinds of chains happening as well. If anyone plays PoE as well, chains, explosions, that all kills your FPS. And you can see here I'm 72 FPS, 40 FPS, 46 FPS, 53. This breach has been opened by other people. So I would definitely say this PC can actually obliterate Path of Exile. Yes, you might very occasionally go down to 20 FPS on the most unreasonable thing possible. Nobody would actually run this map fully maxed out in 1440p. But if you wanted to do it, you can comfortably do it, I would say. So that was it. If you enjoyed this, if it helped you make a decision, leave a like, leave a comment, visit the links in the description. All of that stuff is going to help. Here's an Aboxith. You know, I'm hitting, what's that, 60 FPS whilst fighting a Aboxith in a 2-man fractured Delerium headhunter dual map. It's pretty wild, to be honest, the performance you're getting. So yeah, this definitely taxes the system, but good fun, and I thought I would show it to you.